Hey everyone, what's going on? So, I'm in the process of uploading a video that I made last night, and I was going to add some stuff to it, and then I listened to it a little bit, and I was just said, oh, screw it, I'm just going to leave it how it is, and so on. I was just real tired and whatever, but the stuff that I'm talking about in this video that I am uploading is the exact reason why I'm making this video. So I'm uploading this video, and in this video, I talk about how all of these recent events that are going on, they're synced up to the exact narrative that I have been following that's connected to Charles Manson and connected to the Houston Rockets. Whether the Houston Rockets win the finals and so on, it doesn't really matter. They're connected to some narrative, and it's showing me to pay attention to a certain, set of numbers in this Charles Manson narrative and so on. But for example, look at this, like Cliff Robinson, he died just after I documented about a Cliff theme on Kobe Bryant's birthday, and, then Cliff Robinson dies. Look at Cliff Robinson's name. Cliff Robinson and these Francis Bacon ciphers, it equals exactly what Charles Manson equals. All four ciphers, Cliff Robinson. This number 194 has also been really, really important. The Black Panther guy, Chadwick Boseman, he just so happened to die, let me pull it up here, he just so happened to die 194 days after the anniversary of the Black Panther movie coming out. And he died of colon cancer. Look what colon cancer equals. Colon cancer equals 194. He died 194 days after the Black Panther movie came out. Show you real quick. 194 days, colon cancer, 194. I also talked about the NBA strike. The NBA strike on August 26th, which was James Harden's birthday, which is the day that Colin Kaepernick originally took a knee, and so on. And another major story alongside of that was that the TV announcer, Kenny Smith, was the only one who left and went and protested with the players and so on. And of course, Kenny Smith won 2 championships with the Houston Rockets in 1994 and 1995. And I also talked about how it's important to the year 2017 in my original Charles Manson video. And in 2017, Kenny Smith's mother died. And then his wife is a former lady that is on the, on the Price is Right. She's one of the Drew Carey's helpers or whatever. And she just so happened to resign just after the Vegas attack. And I talked about how the Vegas attack was important to the guy from the Price is Right reaching out to me and so on. So Kenny Smith's mother dies, and then 174 days later, his wife resigns from the Price is Right, and the Price is Right equals 174. It also equals 87, and she was born on 8/7. It's just after the Jesuit Vegas attack. It was synced up to the guy reaching out to me from the Price is Right, and so on. But look at Kenny Smith here. The story about Kenny Smith and this protest just so happened to be 194 days before his birthday, right? And Milwaukee, Wisconsin equals 261. Charles Manson also equals 261. I mean, just everything that I'm even thinking about. In the comments, Zenith of the Alpha America was telling me about a rose theme, which makes a lot of sense, because after Charles Manson died, we got a story about Charlie Rose and something to do with sexual assault and a whole bunch of other things. But in regards to that, so I was thinking about this rose theme, and I went to work the next day, and we had to cook these potatoes for the high school football team, right? And we pulled out this tub or whatever it is that had these potatoes in it, and I was supposed to cook it later that day in our oven at work, the pizza oven. And as I got it out, or as I went to put it in the oven, I noticed that the lady's name was Rose Thompson. And I was like, what are the odds? Even has a 208 address, and Jacob Blake equals 208, and so on. And I was just like, what are the odds? Rose. And I come home and go to yahoo.com, and there's a story about Rosie O'Donnell down in the corner. Rosie O'Donnell. There's also a story about, after I saw that story about Rosie O'Donnell, I went to CNN. they had a story about the 194-year-old department store closing. You know, what are the odds? Lord and Taylor, Rosie O'Donnell just stops equal 194 in gematria. You know? There was also a story about these peaches being contaminated, and what's interesting is that all forever, where these potatoes were sitting out thawing, there was a box of peaches that another one of my coworkers brought into work, and then now they're gone and so on, but, you know, it makes me think of Donald Trump as well. He's not orange, he's peach. And Rosie O'Donnell is also in the movie, what's the Tom Hanks movie? A League of Their Own, with the women's baseball team. And earlier this year, Amani had mentioned to me about how Madonna was important to coronavirus and Tom Hanks was important to coronavirus, and possibly there was something to do with the movie A League of Their Own. And, you know, of course, like a month later, the last remaining Rockford Peach lady died, and she died all synced up to coronavirus and so on. The Rockford Peaches are the main team in the movie A League of Their Own that Rosie O'Donnell's in. You know, so then the story about peaches and whatever else. It's just craziness. And, you know, there's a whole lot more. Even we just had the John Thompson Jr. guy die, right? And back around, let me find it really quick. Just want to find it really quick. Spike Lee. It was right around this, it was back in March, I guess. Spike Lee had the problem with the New York Knicks and so on, and I even talked about how it was important because the Houston Cougars lost to the 1984 Georgetown Hoyas, right? Because we knew the Jesuits were important to the coronavirus and so on. And in 1994, the Houston Rockets then went on and beat the New York Knicks that had Patrick Ewing on the team, and Hakeem Olajuwon was on that team, and Hakeem Olajuwon was also on the 1984 Houston Cougar team, so he got his revenge against Patrick Ewing and all that. But look at Hakeem Olajuwon's name. Hakeem Abdul Olajuwon. Just so happens to equal 194. This number connected to Charles Manson and so on, right? And I don't know, I just want to point it out here. I talked about this. Spike Lee, March 3rd, that's where it is. Also, you know, it reminds us of Charles Oakley, and then that Charles Oakley had the beef with the New York Knicks owner James Dolan in 2017, and then the Rockets got knocked out of the playoffs on James Dolan's birthday in 2017, May 11th, and just want to point it out here. Talked about the 1984 Georgetown Hoyas. I talked about it again in July because there's a narrative with O.J. Simpson and the Bronco, and when O.J. Simpson had his Bronco chase, it interrupted the 1994 NBA Finals game that the Houston Rockets ended up winning, or maybe they lost, I can't remember. They either won or lost that game with 84 points, and, you know, think about the 84 college basketball championship, and that the Georgetown Hoyas also won with 84 points, you know, and Jesuit equals 84, Georgetown's a Jesuit university, yeah, it's a Jesuit university. I don't know what I'm, like, questioning myself for, but anyway, in the mix of all this, so you get the gist of it, right? That all of these things I'm just, you know, documenting about or just randomly stumbling upon, they all have this connection to the Charles Manson narrative that I've been following. They're all synced up to this same narrative, you know, and it's funny because I just was randomly watching videos the other night, and I even watched this video by Kayla, and I just stumbled upon it on Facebook or whatever, but she made a video about Kobe Bryant and can't remember what it was, I can't remember, what's the lady's name? Diana Taurasi, a WNBA player, and how she scored 34 points on, I think it was Kobe Bryant's birthday. The number 34 is this humongous number I've talked about with Kobe Bryant. Check out my Kobe Bryant videos. Absolutely super important, but her team is the Phoenix Mercury, and that Phoenix Mercury equals 194. And, you know, Diana Lorena Taurasi equals 261. Even Kayla's name equals 261, and I saw it on this guy's Facebook post, right? His name 183, just like Kayla, just like Diana Lorena Taurasi, right? I mean, what I'm trying to prove here is that the world is, there's something greater. You know, it's not the Freemasons who are doing this. You know, it's not the Jesuits, I don't think, that are making these things happen. They literally happen, you know, right in front of me every day, all of the time. And possibly there's some type of mind control thing going on, but if that's the case, then that means that, you know, the gematria community is, all of this is supposed to happen, and they're manipulating us and controlling us and making us see narratives and so on, right? So, you know, I don't know. I don't know the answers, but these things are crazy, you know. These things happen constantly. Just want to point out one, you know, point out another one. And anyway, I also watched one of Simple Truth TV's videos. And back on March 1st, I made a live stream with him or whatever, and he talked a lot about the Boston Celtics. And around that time, I was talking about the number 195 and how it was important to a whole bunch of things, such as, you know, the Houston Rockets, and even the word hindsight equals 195, Tiger King equals 195, and this was a little bit before Tiger King, but I just was noticing this pattern with the number 195, and when he started talking about it, it really interested me, right? And he was talking all about the number 39, and like Kemba Walker equals 39, and the Boston Celtics coach, I believe whatever it is, I think his name equals 39, and if he wins, it's something to do with the number 39. I can't remember what it all is. A bunch of 39 stuff. But the night before making that video, the Houston Rockets just so happened to beat the Boston Celtics, and they got their 39th win of the season. And I just pointed out that the date of 3-1 is interesting because Houston also equals 31. But anyway, you know, I left this comment to him last night. I even talked about how Kemba Walker was synced up to Charles Manson, right? Kemba Walker's birthday is 195 days before the day that Charles Manson had his birthday. And of course, Kemba Walker also equals 195, just like Boston Celtics. And Kemba Walker's birthday also is 282 days after the NBA bubble began this year. And Charles Manson also equals 282. And Donald Trump called out the kneeling 2 years, 8 months, and 2 days before George Floyd was killed, supposedly. And George Floyd was super synced up to Charles Manson. Once again, watch the previous videos, but when Kobe tore his Achilles also, that was synced up to the Houston Rockets, and Dwight Howard leaving and going to the Houston Rockets, and Mike D'Antoni, who was the coach when Kobe tore his Achilles, later went to the Houston Rockets and became the coach, and Mike D'Antoni has the same birthday as Kemba Walker, 5'8", which is interesting because Los Angeles Lakers also equal 58, so does, you know, Dwight Howard and DeMarcus Cousins and Kobe Bryant. But when Kobe tore his Achilles, the Houston Rockets coach was Kevin McHale, who's known for playing for the Boston Celtics, and his name equals 194 in gematria, right? It's like, and then while I was writing up this blog post, I was laying in bed with my son, trying to get him to go to bed, and he was watching Peppa Pig. Of course, Peppa Pig goes to a theme park called Helter Skelter. You know, what are the odds, right? I'm writing about all this Charles Manson stuff. Charles Manson's important to the pig narrative. Then there's a story about Elon Musk and the pig in the news, and Elon Musk important to space, just like how Houston's important to space and the moon landing and so on. But I wrote this post just the other night on Simple Truth's video, and the whole reason I'm making this video is because as I'm uploading this video right now, I figured I would go and listen to one of Zach's videos, because I haven't listened to a whole lot of them lately, and I was killing time just kind of doing a little bit of research, whatever, and I'm listening to this video, and when he starts taking calls, of course, some guy calls in, and the first thing he does is he makes sure to tell Zach that tells Zach of his Facebook. He talks about how he met him and he told him his family is Freemasons and so on and whatever else. And he tells him how to spell his name even and to check out his Facebook. And it's kind of confusing. I don't know why he even did this anyway. It just doesn't really add up, I guess, to me. It doesn't make that much sense. But I went to his Facebook just because, since I was listening to it. He's the first caller. And he later on brings up Simple Truth TV and Zach, because right now, you know, they have a beef going on and so on. Don't really, whatever, it doesn't involve me not speaking on it, so on. But, you know, just know that there's a beef going on and so on, right? And moral of the story, I go to this guy's Facebook, and it just seems odd. He tells him, Zach, to go there. He just so happens to be from Houston, Texas, and would you believe what his name equals in gematria? Josh Terrell. 194 and 282. You know, it's like, am I being punked? Or is this really just synchronicity? You know, it's absolutely crazy. And what else is even more interesting is, look at Zach's video here. The main topic of the video, he's talking about this guy, this astronaut, right? Houston Space, Leland Melvin. And I went and looked up Leland Melvin, and Leland Melvin, his name in gematria, his full name, 261, just like Charles Manson. Also 183. Chadwick Boseman, 183. LeBron James, 183. Prince Charles, 183. It's another big number that I have been talking about in relation to all of this, so it's just funny. This guy's name equals these numbers I've been talking about. Zach then later goes off and starts whatever, talking about Simple Truth TV, and he mentions that he did tell him about this Jack Welch guy, and I think it's because Jack Welch went to Bryant University and had some interview or something. I'm not sure. I'm out of the loop. I don't know what exactly is going on, but I look at the Jack Welch guy, and I don't know if you can see this, but notice his birthday is the same day that Charles Manson died. He also died on the date of 3/1, the same day that I did the interview with Simple Truth TV, and how Houston equals 31, Jack Welch equals 31. You know, it's like, it's just crazy this. Charles Manson's birthday. I'm noticing all of this on the date of 9/1. It's now 9/2, but earlier when I was noticing this, it was just before midnight. Rockets equal 91, Space 91, Apollo 91, Asteroid 91, the space race came to an end in 91, Space Force equals 91. Remember, Donald Trump wants to have the Space Force, or we have the Space Force now, right? And back in May, we even got, what was it, the death of somebody from Trading Spaces, and can't remember, there was some type of pattern going on in the media that day. I can't think of the guy's name right now. The guy who's on How High, can't think of the guy's name, but he died. He was supposed to be on the Netflix series. He's going to be on the upcoming Netflix series Space Force, and then on the same day that he died, we got a story about Donald Trump and the Space Force. You know, just ridiculous. So I figured so I went in Simple Truth's blog and I looked up what he wrote about this guy, and he wrote some other things, but one of the things that stuck out was that he wrote that this guy died on 3/1, which is the 61st day of the year, and then he wrote finals equals 61. And just interesting because today now, I guess, 9/2 is the day of Game 7 of the Thunder and the Rockets. And if you go from 3/1 to today, it's 6 months of one day, right? Also 185 days. The word basketball equals 185. So today is also the day that John Thompson Jr. would have celebrated his birthday, right? And he won the finals as the Boston Celtics twice, and both times he beat the Los Angeles Lakers. So, and I've talked about this in my last 3 videos, how the Lakers and the Rockets have this very important relationship and so on. And the Rocket stuff was synced up to the Celtics and also a King narrative in 2017. So it's just funny, you know. Talk about how all of this is connected and then this random synchronicity happens. And I gotta document it, because I feel like there's too many people who have been following this knowledge, right, and following gematria, and they've gotten into a lot of bad habits of believing that a certain number means a certain thing. And to an extent, you can do that, right? But it doesn't always mean that, you know what I mean? You have to follow the narrative. There's a narrative that can be followed. And you follow the narrative with the numbers. You don't just say that a certain number equals a certain thing. There's a pattern that goes along with the number, if that makes sense, Right now there is a big Jesuit theme. So when you see things that are seemingly connected to the Jesuit narrative, it makes sense to say that 84 would equal Jesuit and so on. But, there's a number of other things that equal 84 that might be connected to something else. And I don't know, I just feel like a lot of people don't understand that. And I feel like a lot of people don't do gematria in the same sense that I see it every single day. I follow patterns that are connected in my own life and how they sync up to these random events that go on. And I don't always know what the complete answer is, but eventually it all makes sense, It's proof that there's something greater in this world. And I feel like a lot of people need to know that there is something greater in this world, and there's a purpose to live and get better and, create a better world around us and, figure out the point of life and what the true meaning is and what happens when you die and everything else. That's the reason that I even ever wanted to get into studying these type of things, because I don't know, I got lucky and I just one day saw that there was something more that existed, and it's coming from someone. I used to be like the biggest atheist on the planet, I feel like, and, I don't necessarily know if it's God or if it's just the way that the world works or what, but I guess what I consider God is just the way that this world works, and, so I guess I just wanted to make a short video and show people this synchronicity, and video's it's longer than I even wanted it to be, so. Anyway, have a good one, peace. I actually want to document one more thing in regards to the number 194 at Charles Manson here. I just realized something interesting. I've been talking a lot about the Francis Bacon ciphers, so I typed in Francis Bacon ciphers in gematria. They just so happen to equal 261 and 183, these numbers I keep talking about, right? And, necessarily it doesn't have to have capital letters and whatever, so possibly it's just a coincidence. But regardless, it made me look back up King Charles I of England, because he was a follower of him was a cavalier in the English Civil War. We talked about how LeBron James was King James, and he was a cavalier. And King Charles's father was King James, right? And I talked about how it was synced up to Orlando, Florida's 234, English Civil War 234. The English Civil War began on the 234th day of the year. And then Oliver Cromwell took over for a while. Oliver Cromwell 234, and he died 234 days after his birthday. And I was just thinking about the narrative with LeBron James and the king dying and Prince Charles possibly becoming the new king and so on with the king symbolism. But look at King Charles I here. Look what his birthday is. The same day that Charles Manson died, November 19th. And in gematria, King Charles I just so happens to equal 194, 282, just like Charles Manson. His wife, the Catholic Henrietta Maria, 194 and 282. And the word Catholic also equals 194 in Jewish gematria. And think about all the Jesuit symbolism that's also going on this year. So, the Catholic Church, the Jesuits, so how interesting, Even to further this, King James, he died a span of 282 days after his birthday. And once again, that's Charles Manson equals 282. So, Walt Disney World also equals 282. I don't know if I pointed that out before, but 282. The NBA bubble in Walt Disney World even began 282 days after the season began. The actual season of 2019-20, it began 282 days before the bubble began in Orlando, Florida. So, we'll leave it at that, but very, very interesting to me how this even syncs up. So, once again, peace.